guys, welcome to English Grade 7, Session 1, Tenses. In this session, we will review some tenses that we have learned until now, including present simple, past simple, future simple, and present continuous. Now, let's begin with present simple. Do you still remember the usage of this tense? I suggest that you should take some seconds to think about it before we continue. Okay, we use present simple to talk about truth, something that is always true, or something that is true in the present. For example, the earth goes around the sun. It is always true, right? So can you think of more truths like this? Besides that, we also use present simple to talk about habits, something that happens regularly, or fixed time, such as timetable. For example, I played football every Sunday. That is a habit. Another example, the train leaves at 7 o'clock. That is a fixed time. And don't forget that when we use present simple, we often use adverbs of frequency, such as always, usually, often, sometimes, and never. Now, let's move on with the form of present simple. In affirmative sentences, câu khẳng định, if the subject, chủ ngữ, is I, we, you, they, or two or more than two things or people, we use a verb pair, động từ nguyên mẫu, after the subject. If the subject is he, she, it, or one thing or one person, we add s or es to the verb. So, when do we add s and when do we add es? We add es to the verbs if it ends with ch, double s, sh, or x, like watches, misses, washes, misses. If the verb ends in a consonant, phụ âm, and y, we need to change y into I and then add es, like studies. But if the verb ends in a vowel, nguyên âm, a, e, I, o, u, and y, we just add s, like place. Now, look at the example. In the first one, the subject is I, so we use the verb pair, live. I live in Vietnam. In the second one, because the subject is he, we have to add s to the verb work. He works as a doctor. What about negative sentences? Câu phủ định. Very simple. We just need to use don't or doesn't and then a verb pair after the subject. For example, we don't work on Sunday, or she doesn't like horror films. To make question in present simple, we need to use do or does and then a subject, and then a verb pair. If there is a question word like what, where, when, why, which, or how, it will stand at the beginning of the question. For example, do you ride to school? What does your father do? Now it's time for you to do some practice. Let's pause the video and finish the task on the screen. Now you can see the answers. Number 1, because the subject is I, we use the verb pair of have, that is have. Number 2, because the subject is my dad, that is one person, we need to add s to the verb drive. Number 3, that is a negative sentence and the subject is she, so we will use doesn't plus verb pair, so we write doesn't go. Number 4, it is a negative sentence too, but the subject is they, so we will use don't plus verb pair, so we write don't like. The last one, number 5, it is a question, so before the subject he, we use the auxiliary verb does, and after the subject we use verb pair do, so we will write what does he do in his free time. The next one is the past simple. When do we use this tense? Well, we use this tense when we want to talk about something that happened in the past. Look at the example below. I stayed at home yesterday. We bought this house in 2019. He moved to London 2 years ago. They got home very late last night. You can see yesterday, ngày hôm qua, in 2019, 2 years ago, 2 năm trước, and last night, tối qua, are time in the past. So we have to use past symbol in these sentences. Yesterday, last, and ago are also some words that you can often see in the past simple sentences. Now, look at the form of the past simple. In affirmative sentences, we add ed to the verb or use irregular past tense form, thể quá khứ của động từ bất quy tắc. For example, I visited my grandmother yesterday. He went fishing last weekend. You can see that with most verbs, we add ed to form the past tense, but there are a lot of irregular verbs, động từ bất quy tắc, in English. For example, the past form of the verb to be is was or were, and the past form of go is went, and the past form of come is came. In negative sentences, we just need to use didn't and then a verb pair. For example, we didn't see John yesterday. She didn't answer the phone last night. And to make questions, you use the auxiliary verb trợ động từ did before a subject and then a verb pair. For example, did they build the Eiffel Tower in 1887? When did you meet your best friend? Now, let's pause the video and complete the sentences on the screen. Okay, you can see the answers now. So, number 1, I bought some books yesterday. You see, the past form of buy is bought. Number 2, the past form of win is won. And number 3, because it is a negative sentence, we will use didn't plus verb pair, so we will write didn't travel. And number 4, it is a question, so we use the auxiliary verb did before the subject they and then the verb pair. So that's why we write when did they build the museum. We have talked about the present and the past. Now let's move on with the future symbol. Just like its name, this tense is used to talk about the future. We use it to make promises, lời hứa, or predict something, dự đoán. Now, look at the example. I will see you tomorrow. We will go on a picnic next weekend. She will be 15 years old next month. People will use robots to do the housework in the future. You can see that in future symbol, we often use some words to indicate the time in the future, such as tomorrow, ngày mai, and next, like next week or next month, tuần tới, tháng tới. The form of future symbol is very easy. We just need to use will and then a verb pair. For example, I will help you with your homework. She will travel to Spain next year. To make negative sentences, we simply add not after will, or we can use won't and then a verb pair. For example, we won't go to school tomorrow. They won't be late for the meeting. What about questions? Well, we use will before the subject. Very easy, right? For example, will he arrive soon? What will you do next week? Okay, practice time. Finish the sentences on the screen. Here is the answer. You can see that the sentences number 1 and number 2 are affirmative sentences. So we will use will plus verb pair. So for number 1, we write will write. And number 2, we write will stay. Number 3 is a negative sentence. So we will use won't plus verb pair. He won't fly to the UK tomorrow. And the last one, number 4, it is a question. So we need to use will before the subject and then a verb pair. So we'll write, will you come with us? The last tense that we review today is present continuous, thì hiện tại tiếp diễn. So, what is the difference between this tense and present simple? Well, we use present simple to talk about something that is true or habits or fixed time, right? But we use present continuous to talk about activities that are happening at the moment of speaking. Một cái hành động đang diễn ra, một hành động xảy ra ngay thời điểm nói. For example, I am doing my homework now. We are having dinner at the moment. She is listening to music at present. And don't forget that we often use words like now, right now, at the moment, or at present with present continuous. However, we do not normally use present continuous with stative verbs, động từ tình thái. Stative verbs are verbs used to express your feelings, những động từ bày tỏ cảm xúc, opinions, ý kiến, emotions, tình cảm, or thoughts, suy nghĩ. In present continuous, we use the verb to be in present form. That means am, is, or are, and then a verb in, which means that we have to add in to the verb. For example, I am doing my homework. He is reading a book. We are cooking dinner. In negative sentences, we just need to use not after am, is, or are. For example, I am not working now. She is not or she isn't watching TV. They are not or they aren't playing tennis. And to make questions, we use am, is, or are, and then subject, and then verb in. Like, is she sleeping? What are you doing? Okay, practice time again. Pause the video and complete the sentences on the screen. Well, here is the answer. Number 1. Because the subject is I, so for the verb to be, we use am, and then we add in to the verb play. So we have I am playing computer games now. Number 2. Because my mom is one person, so the verb to be, we will use is, and then we add in to the verb bake. But remember that if the verb ends in e, we have to remove e before we add in. So that's why we write, my mom is baking some cookies at the moment. Number 3, it is a question, and the subject is she. So before the subject she, we use the verb to be is, and then we add in to the verb jog. But remember that the verb jog, it is a verb with one syllable. Động từ một âm tiết, and it ends in a consonant, a vowel, and a consonant. Động từ kết thúc bằng phụ âm, nguyên âm và phụ âm. So, we have to double the last consonant before we add in. Chúng ta phải nhân đôi phụ âm cuối trước khi thêm in vào động từ. And that's why we write, is she jogging in the park? The last one, it is a question too. So before the subject they, we'll write are, and then we add in to the verb talk. So we will have, what are they talking about? Now can you remember all the tenses well? If you have any question, please feel free to contact your English teacher via email. Thank you for your attention and see you later.